Virgo. There is a specific kind of knowing, not the intellectual kind, not the conclusion arrived at through assessment and evidence and the careful weighing of available information. The other kind, the one that arrives before any of that, that is simply present, whole, certain, requiring no argument in the interior of someone who has encountered the person they belong with and recognized them with the specific quality of recognition that does not need time to confirm itself. That arrives complete. That says this one. This specific, particular, entirely irreplaceable one. This person has that knowing about you, has had it quietly, persistently, with the specific quality of something that has been present since the first genuine encounter and has not been argued away by anything that came after, and what it has produced in them, what that specific, certain, you and no one else knowing has generated in the interior of someone who cannot shake it, is the subject of everything that follows today. Take what is yours today. What resonates, let it land. What does not, release it gently. But for those of you who felt something stir in the specific place where genuine recognition lives before language has caught up to it, this reading is carrying something today that deserves to be received fully. Let me speak about belonging because it is the word at the center of this reading, and it deserves honest attention before anything else. Belonging in the context of love is not possession. That distinction matters, and Spirit is pressing it forward before the reading proceeds. It is not the claim of ownership over another person, the "this is mine" quality that treats love as territory to be held rather than connection to be tended. Belonging in its truest and most honest sense is something different, something mutual. The specific, reciprocal, we fit here quality of two people who have found in each other the particular configuration of presence and depth and genuine recognition that makes the concept of with make sense. Soft sigh. You belong with this person in that sense, not because they claim you, because when the full, honest, nothing edited picture of what exists between you is held clearly, when the connection is seen at its actual size rather than the managed, let me not overstate this size, that caution tends to produce what is visible is a fit. The specific, structural, these two things were configured for proximity fit of two people who bring out in each other something that neither produces independently, who make each other more fully themselves rather than less, who occupy in each other's presence the specific quality of being at home that most people search for extensively and find rarely. Now hear what lives in this person, because their voice has been pressing forward since before this reading began and needs to reach you in the form closest to how it actually sounds in the honest hours. I have tried to imagine this differently, tried to construct in the private and reasonable part of my mind the version of my life in which what I feel for you resolves into something more manageable, something that fits more comfortably in the ordinary flow of things, something that does not insist on being the largest and most specific thing in my interior at any given moment. And every time I have tried, every time I have genuinely attempted to find the version of this that is smaller or more casual or less completely organized around you, I have arrived at the same place. There is no smaller version. What I feel is the size it is. And the size of it, the full, unmanaged, this is simply what is true size, is that you belong with me. Not as a claim, as the honest recognition of someone who has looked at the full picture of what exists between us and found it pointing in one direction toward this, toward you, toward the specific and entirely irreplaceable quality of what happens between us that I have not found reproduced anywhere else, regardless of how sincerely I have looked. Whew. No one else can have what we have. And I mean that in the most honest available sense, not as the possessive claim of someone who wants to prevent you from belonging to yourself, as the simple, accurate description of something that is specific, that exists in the particular configuration of you and me together and does not exist in any other configuration. That cannot be reproduced by proximity to anyone else, because what produces it is not a quality that I bring or that you bring separately. It is what we produce together. The specific resonance, the specific quality of two things that were configured for each other, finding themselves in the same space and producing something neither could generate alone, that is not available anywhere else. I have looked not strategically in the ordinary, life continuing, people entering and leaving way of someone who is simply moving through time. And what the looking has confirmed quietly, without drama, with the specific and undeniable quality of evidence that accumulates to the point of becoming impossible to dispute, is that what exists between us is singular, is not replicated, is not available in a different form with a different person, is here between us and nowhere else. Oh, feel what that carries, not the possessive version, the singular version, the specific, honest, arrived at through genuine experience understanding of someone who has tested the alternative and found the testing definitive, who is not claiming you from fear or from the need to control, who is recognizing you specifically, accurately, with the full weight of what genuine recognition feels like as the person with whom something irreplaceable exists. Now, I want to speak about what this means practically, because recognition of this quality asks something of both people, and the asking deserves honest attention. Soft sigh. It asks honesty. From both sides, the specific, this is what I actually feel honesty that singular connections require, and that the ordinary self-protective management of feeling tends to prevent, because singular things require singular honesty, cannot be adequately navigated through the partial, carefully calibrated, let me not show more than is safe versions of truth that most relationships survive on. They require the full version, on both sides, simultaneously, in the specific and courageous way of two people who have decided together or in parallel that what exists between them is worth the full exposure that full honesty requires. It asks presence, the specific, daily, I am choosing to be here completely quality of someone who has decided that the singular thing deserves singular attention, who does not bring the distracted, one foot elsewhere quality of someone who has not yet fully committed to where they are standing, who arrives in every interaction, in every ordinary moment that the connection produces with the full quality of their own presence, rather than the managed, appropriately sized version. And it asks trust, the specific, earned through demonstrated behavior trust, that genuine belonging, the mutual we fit here kind requires to become what it is capable of being, not the blind trust of someone who has decided to believe without evidence. The specific growing, this is being built through what we actually do, trust of two people who are showing each other in the real and daily dimension of their connection, that the singular thing they have is being treated with the care that singular things deserve. That trust is building in the field between you through whatever the connection has already produced, through the history of what has been real and what has been shown and what has been demonstrated in the specific, unglamorous, daily life of a genuine connection way that reveals character more accurately than any single significant moment could. And what it is building toward, the full, grounded, nothing to prove quality of trust that two people who belong together eventually find is real, is forming, is closer than the current chapter might suggest. Now I want to speak to you, to the person receiving the recognition that you belong with someone. Because belonging is its own specific experience and deserves honest navigation. Belonging is not the end of yourself. That is the first and most important thing. The version of belonging this reading is pointing toward the mutual we fit here. Two people who are more fully themselves together kind does not ask you to disappear into the connection. Does not ask you to make yourself smaller or more convenient or less fully what you are in order to fit what the connection requires. The belonging this reading is naming requires your full self, is in fact only possible with your full self, because what this person recognizes, what they cannot find elsewhere, is not a managed version of you. It is the actual one. Bring the actual one into the connection without the editing, without the protective reduction of who you are to a size that feels safe to offer, with the full, present, completely yourself quality of someone who has decided that what they are is exactly what this connection was configured to hold. Because it was the specific and singular thing that exists between you and this person was configured for the actual you, not a version, the full dimensional, nothing held back reality of who you are, which is what produced the recognition in the first place, which is what cannot be reproduced with anyone else, which is the specific and irreplaceable thing that makes the no one else can have you not a claim of possession, but a statement of fact about what is singular. You are singular. What exists between you is singular. And what becomes possible when two singular things are finally, fully in the same place at the same time, both present, both honest, both bringing the actual version rather than the managed one, is something that the word belonging was always trying to describe. Soft sigh. You belong with this person. Not because they say so, though they do, in the private hours, with the full weight of a recognition that has survived everything they tried to do with it, because of what the connection itself produces, because of what exists in the field between you that exists nowhere else, because of the specific and honest fit of two things that were configured for proximity and have found their way to each other and are now slowly, with all the human complication, that genuine connection always involves finding their way into the full expression of what they are capable of together. That expression is available, is forming in the honest, present, both of you showing up completely way that singular things require. And what it produces when both people arrive fully, trust completely, belong openly, is the specific and irreplaceable thing that no one else can have. Because it was always only ever yours. If this reading found you today, if something here named the specific quality of what exists between you and this person and gave it the honest language it deserves, stay close, subscribe, and come back. Because the story of two people who belong together finally showing up completely for what that means, that is a story worth witnessing all the way through. And the next reading will be there for every singular, real, nothing held back step of what belonging actually builds into.